there, it's Ben Housel here, and here in this tutorial we're going to be having a look at how we do some selective color adjustment, in particular looking at how we can kind of dry out the land here with one of the color corrections, and then also in this earth doing the same thing. So selectively color correcting or adding a color effect to a part of our image and then changing only that. So leaving the ocean blue here, and then in this first little clip leaving the lake and the sky blue. So we're just getting that color change on the land here. So we're going to dive into a blank clip and have a little look at how we do this. So we've got a blank clip with both of our original clips kind of set up here. And we're going to use one of the preset color adjustments here. So in Final Cut Pro, across in your effects, you'll have these preset color adjustments. And we're going to go down to the dry option here, and you can see when I hover over it, we get this nice kind of dry, arid changing of the land, but it's also changing the color of the lake as well, and that's what we're going to change here. So we're going to drag this on, and then we're going to come up to our inspector. If you don't see the inspector in Final Cut Pro 10, then just go to Window, Show in Workspace, and turn on the inspector, and that will show you options for scaling things, for color adjustments, and also options for any effects that you've added. And then we're going to come into our color board here. So basically in the color board we have the option up here at the top right. We can see the kind of preset adjustments that have been done. And then up here at the top right we have this option to add a shape mask or a color mask, and we're going to add that color mask. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to hover over the lake area, and you'll see it will kind of return to its original blue, and we're going to draw out a circle and then hold down Shift, come to the sky, and then we can draw out, and you can see the little plus next to my eyedropper there. So we're adding that blue of the sky and here as well to our selection. So now you can see it's only the sky that's being changed, but we want to invert that. So we're going to come up to our inspector at the top right, and we're going to choose this invert option. And now you can see we get that effect where the sky remains blue and it's the land that's actually changed. So we've inverted the color there, and we've got this kind of nice kind of arid look. Now if we want to do a bit of animation here, so we'll come back to the beginning of this clip somewhat. I'm going to add a keyframe here, and then I'm going to come back a few frames, and we're just going to switch all of our options back to the default. Now we can't use the hooked arrow because that's going to take off all the color correction that's been done, but if we come to color and just type in zeros for all these changes, and then also for the saturation as well, we'll type in a 0 for that 58, and then we'll change the shadows, midtones, and highlights all back to 0. So you can see here we're back to our original color, and what will happen now is we'll get a gradual kind of change to that arid, dry look. And if we right click on our clip in the timeline, show the video animation, you can see we can slow down by dragging those apart or speed up our animation. So we'll slow it down a little bit, and you can see up in the inspector here as we play it through those color sliders adjusting, which is kind of cool. So that's the first clip here, and we can just play that through one last time. So you can see we're gradually just taking all the green out of the grass there, out of the trees, and making that landscape look like it's drying out. So we're going to do the same for the earth here, but before we do that we're actually going to duplicate this layer because we might need to use a mask here to actually stop the background from changing as well. So we're going to drag this on, and you can see that dry look is kind of changing the earth there. If we toggle that on and off, we're getting that kind of nice dry look, but we are changing the color of the ocean there as well. So if we come to a spot where we can kind of see a good chunk of ocean and the different kind of shades of blue, then we're going to turn this on. So we're going to come up to our inspector here, and we're going to add a color mask. And when we're using a color mask, we're going to make sure we're using this 3D color mask. It seems to work a bit better in this particular scenario. We're going to find this part of the globe where there's lots of ocean here, and then we're going to use our eyedropper, kind of stretch this out over the ocean, and find some other bits of ocean which we can add in there. And once that's done, just keep selecting it. You should see that the ocean is desaturating, and we may need to tweak this a little bit, but basically if we come up to invert here now, it's going to dry out the land, but it's going to leave that ocean blue. So you can see here we've taken a lot of that green out of the land, but we've left that ocean kind of nice and blue. And there's maybe a little bit of tweaking there, but actually this is a pretty low resolution video of a spinning globe that we've got, so we're getting a pretty good result there for what we're working with. And again, with this, if we come somewhere here where we can see lots of green, so we'll catch Europe and Africa kind of spinning around here. I'm going to add a keyframe here for the color board. And I'm going to come back in time, and I'm going to set all my color options here to 0. So now, as this spins round, we're going to go quite quickly from green to this desert-like version of the globe. Now this globe is set up so that it can spin continuously, so we can create a loop. So if we actually grab these two clips and move them across here, I think there's a little bit of a jump, and we just need to group these two clips together. So Command and G with those two selected. And I'm just going to come forward a couple of frames here and find the spot where it's going to loop. Okay, so I'm just using the period key to just move forward a few frames to find that spot where it's going to loop. Okay, I think we're there. Yeah, so we can see a flash of the color, which is what we expect. But actually now, if we come a little bit ahead in time, we can right-click on our clip here, show the video animation, and then we can delete these first set of keyframes, which will leave it in its kind of dried out state. So now that loop will flow right through in its dried out kind of state. So you can see there we've used that dry preset, and we have then isolated that so it's not taking all the color out of the ocean. And then also, if we want to make sure that this isn't affecting the background here, we can basically highlight this clip again and use a shape mask. Come back to my video options here, and then with this shape mask we can just use it because the globe is kind of in this perfect rotation. We can just set this up around there, so essentially we've made this globe completely transparent in the background here, so it will not affect that background layer, which means we can control that independently, and also any color changes that we might have in that foreground globe layer won't flow through to the background layer. So let's just copy that and do Shift Command and V and paste that shape mask onto that second clip, so we get that continuous. I'm going to deselect these, so now you can see we get that continuous loop, and actually it's not quite continuous, we've still got a little bit of overlap there from the clip below. We'll just use that period to move ahead a few frames until we get them matched up. So we've got our first clip here where we're kind of drying out these mountains, this arid look, and then we've got the second clip where when we spin round past South America, we dry out all the green in that globe image. So there's a couple of quick examples of how we can use color correction, but then also kind of isolate that color correction so we're only affecting certain objects in our video. If you found this useful, then leave a comment below. If you have some suggestions for different or better ways of doing it, I'm always up for kind of exploring new opportunities for learning how to do this type of color correction. So please leave comments below if you've seen a different video that has a different approach to doing this. That would be cool. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial.